I know the term Trump derangement syndrome gets used a lot lately. I do not know how else to describe this upcoming clip featuring David Cochrane of the CBC. He's talking to this other guy who certainly doesn't sound like a Trump fan, but it sounds like they're trying to be honest. David, on the other hand, it's just pure TDS, the entire clip. It's actually outstanding that this is such a big news program in Canada. He sounds like a massive whiner the entire time. Let's react. Here we go.
Officer, I believe that was Steve Verhoeven, right? Who is kind of a well-known figure, an extremely well-known and well-respected figure in Canadian trade negotiations. But doesn't Mr. Verhoeven have a point? Like when you look at what is happening with prices in the U.S. Consumer markets, when you look at what is happening with the MAGA base, with a lot of things, and with the midterms coming, that things may get more politically difficult for the Trump administration as 2026 rolls along.
Yeah, I mean, Trump is in obviously real political trouble, and I think widely viewed as expected to lose the House in the midterms, likely to lose the Senate. But
maybe things change. The midterms aren't until November. That's still a ways out.
Trump does not treat Congress as that important an actor, and Congress is not that centrally involved in foreign relations. And I think people may overestimate the extent to which a big defeat in the midterms is going to change Trump's trade strategy, his style, the way he approaches other countries.
Right, but he's largely done so many things by executive order, right? Even on trade, on any number of things. He's had the Supreme Court setback. If he does lose Congress, if he does lose the Senate, he can be distracted by investigations. Who knows? Any number of things.
Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, what is your sense of the strength he still has to sort of the command, the Liberation Day tariff agenda from a year ago?
Yeah, I think the presidency is a very powerful job, and Trump is not, he's not up for re-election. He's not acting like he cares that much whether he is popular. Like he's really done almost everything he could this year to destroy his party's prospects of winning the midterms, and doesn't seem particularly bothered by it. This war is honestly, however it comes out for the U.S., which is unpredictable on the in the Gulf. It's a political disaster at home. It's splintered his coalition. It's dragged his numbers to new lows.
So look, this guy sounds like he doesn't even like Trump. It sounds, though, as you'll see moving forward, he's at least trying to live in reality, even if he does sound biased against Trump. I mean, he works for this outlet Semaphore, which I believe is quite liberal, but we'll continue.
I think he is trying to reorder the U.S. and the world with an eye to his legacy, not to the midterms. And I think in some ways, Lutnick's confidence and his frustration with Canada reflect that.
Right. I mean, look, obviously, very different perspective of it on this side of the border, right? In that essentially everything.
Not everybody thinks the same things as you, though, man. I don't feel the same way. I'm on that side of the border.
America wants amounts to a capitulation of some way of a deal that Trump negotiated in his first term. It's like this partnership, which has made a lot of people rich on both sides of the border. They now want sort of a subservience. You're a supplier, you're a customer, you're not a partner, that's it, right? I mean, is the dominant view in the United States reflected by the comments of the administration? Because you hear business groups and lower level politicians who do not like the direction there. I mean, what's your sense of the overall mood nationally on this?
Every time David Cochrane comes back, it's essentially Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad.
No, and I mean, I would say like industrial policy is broadly popular when Trump or Lutnick go out and say, we don't like these jobs going elsewhere, we want them here. Right. That's a popular thing to say in pretty much any country. Certainly, I assume in Canada. It seems like it's popular in Canada too. But it's not popular in Trump's congressional party, much less in sort of in American politics. But I think, the core thing, and he got to it a bit later after the comment about Chrystia Freeland and the comment about Canada sucking. He
play that here, then we'll come back. Just a little bit of that.
That is like the worst strategy I've ever heard. They suck. Look, we are a $30 trillion economy, right? We are the consumer of the world, okay? Carney has a problem with us. He gets on a plane and he goes to China Does he think the Chinese economy is going to buy his stuff?
He said he just, the idea that Carney is going to try to hedge against the U.S. with China was sort of a thumb in the eye to the administration, and they found and a real problem for them. They do not like the idea of BYDs driving around North America.
Of course. Why would they like that? That's very real. People in Canada, though, I bet you David Cochrane doesn't see it like that. A bunch of these talking heads on the major Canadian news channels don't seem to acknowledge the obvious problem that would be. It's just a bad look even for America to have BYD cars all over Canada. You think Trump likes that? I doubt it. By the way, I don't think a lot of Democrats would like that. There's pretty much bipartisan recognition in America that they have to compete with China, and China is not necessarily the United States' friend. I mean, I'm saying that probably more diplomatically than a bunch of people in America would.
And it makes them look weak. And on the other hand, Canada has a 3,000-mile border in the U.S. And what the hell are you doing? Is their basic point of view here.
Yeah, and look, a lot of Canadians are deeply uncomfortable with this, but also feel like they've been forced into it, right? In that you kind of...
He just keeps coming back. Look at what Trump's making us do.
Have no choice but to hedge your portfolio because...
There's no hedging. There's no hedging the portfolio. I'm not going to bring it up in this video, or at least I'm not going to show the clip, but Carney again gave an address today. You have to deal and trade with America if you're Canada. Something like 60 to 70% of the trade. You're not going to hedge that away. Even if you make a little dent in that, it hardly is going to matter in the big picture. What are you going to do? Replace that with South Korea?
Suddenly, we made a bet to go all in with the U.S., and the U.S. decided to leverage that against us, right?
Dude, how is this guy on television? You made a bet. It's called The Geography of Canada. Just deal with America. So there's some tariffs. I'll make another point, though, on tariffs a little later here.
Right, and I mean, this is playing out for Trump across the spectrum, right? The Europeans refusing to help in the Middle East is the most obvious example, and I think the challenge for Canada, and this is what Lutnick said, and I think he obviously has a point, is how much sort of Canadian export do you really expect China to take? They don't import that much. They're an export-driven economy, and so I think
Canadians aren't going to like to hear that. At least the liberal Canadians on these networks. That's obviously true, though.
I think genuinely held White House view is that you have to do business with the United States no matter what. And sorry, like it's a pretty, which obviously makes them pretty unpleasant to negotiate with.
But it's true. You have to. America is eating everybody's lunch economically. Every major country is lagging behind America. It's growing. I've done this before, but pull up a list of the top 100 countries on Earth. America. It's just littered with American companies from a bunch of sectors. Obviously, tech being the major one lately, but America is just dominant right now, even more so than it was like 10, 15 years ago when it was still dominant. So all this talk of diversifying, all these pipe dreams that Carney spouts out and people in the Canadian media just cling on to, wake up. It's not doing anybody any favors unless maybe you're have some interest with the Canadian government. But to regular Canadian people, give me a break.
Yeah, it's been an interesting a year, and I think there's like 1,108 days left in the presidency. So we're all following that very closely.
Listen to how pathetic that is. You're counting the days?
But
a lot of days.
It's a lot.
A lot can happen in 1,108 days.
There's a lot of hours. It's only been like 380, 390 days. But
who's counting?
But we are. Trust me. But look,
Speak for yourself. And Kay, the point about the tariffs. What if the Democrat wins in 2028? Do you think they're just going to automatically take the tariffs off? I'm not so sure. I think if I had to guess right now, I'd say they're going to keep them. For the one point, the U.S. federal government is going to become dependent on the tariff revenue they're getting, not just from Canada, but from other countries as well. And then I don't think it's going to be politically popular to say, you know what, let's take the tariffs off. Then maybe you'll see some news stories of, some plants going to Canada to make autos, to make parts, to make what have you. Is that going to be politically popular? I doubt it. I honestly, if I had to bet, would the Democrat administration keep the tariffs? I would bet they're going to keep them. Maybe they'll have their own strategy, their own way of dealing with Canada, but Canada should not be so delusional to think that just because a Democrat gets into office, trade is going to magically get better. I think the can has kind of been opened on a lot of this, and America feels not just militarily, but economically like they've been getting taken advantage of because they have. I don't know.
You mentioned the suck comment earlier, because this became a thing where he said they suck, and then a statement came out from the Commerce Department saying he was misquoted. What he was saying is that Canada sucks off America's $30 trillion economy, as in we're almost like a parasite, is sort of the way it was being described, like everyone's a freeloader getting rich off the U.S. Has it?
Look, it's hyperbolic, but is that even false? Canada prioritizes net zero, reconciliation, all these things that aren't economic growth. America, for all it's not a perfect country, prioritizes capitalism. Other countries, I don't think you can say the same. All these other strange priorities that aren't about economic growth. Give me a break. Like, so many countries, Canada included, would be such a mess without America. Wake up, guys.
Really come to that, that they sucks off, sucky. Like, this is where things seem to be right now between the administration and this country. I mean, what do you make of that view expressed by the Commerce Secretary?
What is this show? This guy should be a leftist political streamer. Just have a show like Rachel Gilmore. I think most Canadians would think of a show like this on CBC, at least theoretically, as balanced news, not whatever this is.
Yeah, and elsewhere in his remarks, I would say he kind of played out the sucking metaphor at greater length. Yeah, I mean, I think that's this has been Donald Trump's view of trade for 40 years. So, he probably would have said more or less those words in 1985. But obviously, this is an unusual style of diplomacy and does not seem to be bringing Canadians on board politically. Would be my observation from down here, but what do I know?
Look, I wonder what this guy is thinking at this moment.
That's this has not been
trying to, I think, have a reasonable conversation. I don't think this is a Trump fan, but there are just realities of the world, man. Trump's been saying similar stuff to this on trade for a long time. The world has to deal with America. That's also true. The fantasy that Canada is going to somehow diversify away is just so insane. Even if you do a little bit, like I said, it'll hardly make a dent in Canada's overall exports. But with that said, I'll finish the video. Please like, please subscribe. Have a great day.